Hello, Melton Guy here, and just taking another look at things. Have a couple of things I want to talk about today. It'll all hopefully meld into one an idea, but we'll get there one way or the other. The title of the podcast today is Tennessee Brando proves great wisdom does not require a suit and tie. I mentioned him before, usually at the end of my podcast, and offer him up as someone you probably would like to listen to. He's a very wise man, and he is as afraid of what's going on and what is taking place and what might happen as I am. And there are a lot of us out there like that, and we all need to stick by each other, and we need to scream and yell, I guess, is what is needed, because that seems what draws the attention. But I'm asking the question, in all that's taking place, especially since 2016, are we building a country, or are we canonizing a monster? You remember years and years ago, there was a commercial, I think it was a Wendy's commercial, I'm almost positive it was, but a little lady, elderly lady, she sits out in her car in the drive-through and she yells, "Where's the beef?" And that's a good question to put out there, because whether you like it or not, it's already out there, and the question has already been asked 1,000,000 times at least around the world, and by many people in this country wondering what is going on. There are many out there that have been asking that question. One I mentioned earlier, Tennessee Brando, Texas Paul, Owen Morgan, Rachel Maddow. They're asking that question, and they're asking it about whatever party you belong to. Where is the beef? I urgently suggest you tune them in. I listen to everybody. Yes, when I say everybody, I mean everybody. If I can get it, I'll listen to it. But if I'm suggesting to you those names I just mentioned, because there is substance to what they say. In other words, there is beef, there is truth, and most of all, no contamination of MAGA or Trump. You know, in this country, we live in a capitalistic society, and I've always said that capitalism cannot be successful on its own. It's going to have to be a capitalistic that focuses on the needs of the people, as well as the needs of keeping their business going and producing for not only themselves, but for the people in this country and globally speaking around the world. Marketing is the name of the game, however. Not the goods, not the substance, but marketing. Harris Teeter and Whole Foods and the marketing techniques of many of these major grocery stores, high-end grocery stores, some people like to call them, they are marketing that name and not so much the goods. They're not the only ones that do it. It's in every type of business, and I'm not saying it's a bad thing as long as that is not the focus and that is not the meat of what you are doing. Yeah, we all all of these businesses can get our attention with bright lights, brand names, and we all know that brand names are something that's big in the minds of, especially of the youth, to some extent, not all, but they pick out things like that to market rather than what they're actually putting on their shelves as far as quality goods. I mean, we're still fighting the battle over organic. I mean, they made a major pitch, still are. It doesn't seem like as much as it was, but they still are making this great pitch to show how much better for you organic foods are in the grocery store than buying just regular food, not organic. There has not been any proof. I've heard a lot of people say it is, but no real proof that there's essentially and substantially any reason to believe that you're not going to do just as well on buying a regular carrot than an organic carrot. And I'm not saying that holds true in all things, but they have really marketed the idea that you should be buying organic. You're killing yourselves if you don't. Of course, you know, in the market, I guess you have to go in with the idea that when you walk into a grocery store or clothing store or hardware or whatever you walk into, you know, remember the phrase, all that glitters is gold. Just ask the rich man who owns all the shares to a prolific iron pyrite mine. Now, iron pyrite is what they call fool's gold, if you get my drift. Fox News found their audience, and they market to their audience not substance, not quality news items, but they say what their audience and their audience alone wants to hear. I listen to them every day. The Midas Network, it tries to present the news, keep you up to date, and I listen to Midas Network as well as Fox News. I listen to Tennessee Brando. And I even listen to Sean Hannity, who has proven himself to be one of the biggest liars and most open liars in our country. This man, when they started having the trials for about the voting irregularities that Sean Hannity was right in on, talking about what a great disaster it was that Biden was elected illegally. But when he went on the stand under oath in those concerns, he told the truth. He said he knew that Joe Biden won that election. But the strange thing is that when that ordeal was over and he got back in his chair, he began to talk to his audience again, what they wanted to hear, and tell them the same lies over. There's a brand to be considered always. And what has happened is that the brand, the substance, has taken second place to marketing techniques. How to get your attention. What makes you tick and talk about that? How do you feel religiously, politically, philosophically? And talk about it that way and try to keep in the guidelines of what you and I feel. Not what the news is. but what's going to keep you coming back? I went my younger days when I first started into the ministry. I went to a little Bible college down in Florida. Had a homiletic class. That's where they supposedly teach you how to stand up in the pulpit and preach and how to deliver and all that. And then, all that goes with it. But I had a professor, not professor. He was I guess he was a professor of some sorts at that little place, but he was the teacher. He was also a Baptist minister. And he actually made this statement: loud preaching is synonymous with good preaching. Not the substance, but how you deliver it. Loud preachers get your attention. It doesn't matter what they say. And the news as of late, and I get the same feeling that my feelings are hurt, I'm insulted, and I want to vomit when these things come out. But this time it's about the Donald Trump Bibles and him saying, my favorite book. I have many in my house. See, I have to wonder if those Bibles, if he indeed has them in his house, are they next to his other favorite book, which seemed to have been at one point Mein Kampf? Now, I'm not being rushed. I'm not rushing anything to judgment here. Well, this is not something new. The rhetoric that he has used since he started running for president has sounded so much like 1930s and 40s Germany. When you first heard it, did you say, our Trump is selling Bibles? Our former president's selling Bibles? Or did you say, he's selling Bibles now? I hope it's the latter. You see, this is just another form of breaking a commandment. One of the main commandments. By using the Bible and talking about how much he loves the Bible, the way he uses it, he is using the Lord's name in vain. Now, I know many are going to yell and say, I thought that was when you said, by God, or you said GD, if you know what that means. But using God's name in that way, that's not what that commandment is about at all. That commandment about referring to when you go to your temple, talking about in the Old Testament days, early Old Testament days, when you go to worship, are you going there for what you can get out of from God and what you can give to God? Or are you going there because you want God to do a specific thing, like make sure your crops are productive this year, or your livestock, if they prove to be profitable this year? And you go there and you go through these rituals because you were taught that way. And if you do that, God will take care of you. That's using the Lord's name in vain. I've pastored many churches and many people, and for some reason, I could always draw a distinct difference between those who were constantly telling me in ways what a good Christian they were, over against those that I immediately knew were Christians without them saying a word. If you have to hold a Bible up every time you do something trying to reach a certain group of people, and you're using that Bible as your prop, which is what Donald Trump has done, he's using the Lord's name in vain. He has broken another commandment. He's used to that, but I'm just pointing out that he has broken another commandment. Then there's this monster, moving on, that has attacked us. Use a little levity here, if you will. The Tramago. Trumago. Tramago. That has attacked us. It's at least humanoid. It's vicious. It can talk, but in a strange language that most of the time I do not understand. However, one trait that is certainly consistent is that it cannot open its mouth without lying. That's one positive characteristic of the Tramaga. Persistence. Since 2016, this Tramaga has tried to destroy all that is good and has been successful in so many areas. Since the appearance of the Tramaga, other monsters as vicious as the Tramagas and more so, and they come from a place called ignorancia. Still using a little levity here. And these other monsters are called Magosauruses. And after all these monsters, like the animals we keep, our pet cats and dogs, we have to go behind them and clean up the mess. And let me tell you, there is a lot of to shovel up. But just looking around what has already piled up and what is still continued to pile up, we may have to trade those shovels for bulldozers. We can't scrape it all up and dispose of it, I think. It's really piled up, and we're letting it pile up every day. Every day. And by the way, it woefully stinks. But we, as well as the world, have stopped asking, where's the beef? Rather, we in the world are asking, where's your heart, America? As you let all of this pile up, and the ruining of so many people, and the suffering of so many people, just because of your words and deeds and actions. I don't care where the beef is right now. I just want to know what happened to your heart. And what's more, the rest of the world is laughing at us because they smell the putridness of the Tramaga, of the Magosauruses, and talks amongst themselves asking, don't they ever take a bath? We need to start showing the country, United States of America, and the world, our heart and our humanity. Not a presentation of our perfectness, but our American ideals, reflecting our heart and our humanity. And stop the loud preaching marketing method and focus on substance. That is, each other now and each other in January of 25.